Imagine stumbling upon a book, a really old one, and realizing it's like a window into a whole different world, a society so different from ours, but with characters who feel shockingly real.
It's like there could be people you'd meet today, their hopes, their dreams, their little quirks. It all just resonates, even after centuries.
That's the power of great storytelling, and that's exactly what we're diving into today with Geoffrey Chaucer's The Canterbury Tales.
Written between 1387 and 1400, it's considered one of the most important works in English literature, and for good reason.
It's this amazing collection of stories, but framed in such a clever way. The setup itself is brilliant.
Absolutely. It all revolves around a pilgrimage, a group of people traveling together from London to Canterbury to visit the shrine of St. Thomas Becket.
And to pass the time on their journey, they decide to have a little storytelling contest.
Well, the host of the Tabard Inn, where they all meet up, he's the one who suggests it. He's quite a character himself, really brings the whole thing to life.
So that's the basic premise. But what we really want to explore today is why the Canterbury Tales has captivated readers for over 600 years.
What makes these stories so timeless? What can they tell us about life in medieval England? And, even more intriguingly, about ourselves, about those aspects of human nature that seem to transcend time and place.
I think that's what makes this exploration so fascinating. It's not just a history lesson, it's a chance to connect with something much deeper.
And along the way, we might even have a few of those mindful moments, those pauses for reflection where we really delve into the heart of what makes a story or a piece of art so meaningful. Kind of like those insightful analyses you might find on a channel like Mindful Moments in our podcasts, which uses AI to really understand audiobooks.
Exactly. So let's start by talking about Chaucer's brilliant structure for this whole thing. The pilgrimage itself is more than just a backdrop for the stories, right?
Oh, absolutely. It serves as this unifying force, bringing together people from all walks of life. You've got knights and squires, monks and nuns, merchants and millers, all thrown together on this journey.
And in that shared experience, you start to see the social hierarchy of medieval England kind of melting away, at least temporarily.
Precisely. They're all pilgrims, all bound for the same destination, and that creates a unique sense of community and equality, even if it's just for the duration of the journey. And you see that reflected in the way they interact with each other, the way they tell their stories.
It's like Chaucer is giving us this incredible glimpse into the dynamics of medieval society, how people from different classes interacted, what their concerns were, what made them laugh.
Right. And it's all done through the lens of this pilgrimage, which adds another layer of meaning. It's not just a physical journey, it's a spiritual one as well. They're all seeking something, whether it's forgiveness, healing, or maybe even just a break from their everyday lives.
And you get a real sense of that in the general prologue, where Chaucer introduces us to all the pilgrims. He paints these vivid portraits with just a few well-chosen details.
Oh, he's a master of characterization. A quick description of their clothing, a mention of their occupation, a little anecdote about their behavior, and suddenly these characters come to life. They feel real, like people you could almost imagine meeting on the street.
We've got around 30 pilgrims in total, and each one is so distinct and memorable. And I love how Chaucer doesn't shy away from their flaws. He presents them warts and all, which makes them even more relatable, I think.
Absolutely. He's not trying to idealize them or present them as perfect examples of their social class. They're complex individuals with their own virtues and vices, just like real people.
And I think that's one of the things that makes the Canterbury Tales so enduring. These characters feel timeless because they're so human.
Exactly. Their struggles, their desires, their sense of humor, it all resonates with readers even centuries later. Because even though the world has changed in so many ways, human nature hasn't really changed that much.
And it's not just the characters that make this work so special. Chaucer's language itself was revolutionary. He chose to write in Middle English, the language of everyday people, instead of the more formal French or Latin that were common in literary works at the time.
It was a bold move, a real statement about the power and beauty of the English language. And it helped pave the way for English to become the dominant language of literature that it is today.
So in a sense, Chaucer was helping to shape the future of the English language with the Canterbury Tales.
Oh, absolutely. He showed that English could be just as expressive and sophisticated as any other language. And he did it with such skill and artistry. His use of language is just as captivating as his storytelling.
And he was so clever in how he adapted his style to fit the different pilgrims telling their stories.
Exactly. The Knight's Tale, for example, is written in this elevated style, with lots of courtly language and imagery, reflecting his noble status. But then you have The Miller's Tale, which is much more earthy and bawdy, full of puns and slapstick humor.
It's like each tale has its own unique voice, its own personality, which just adds to the richness and complexity of the whole work.
And that's what makes it so much fun to read. You never know what you're going to get next. One minute you might be swept away by a romantic tale of chivalry. The next you might be rolling your eyes at a bawdy joke.
And that variety, that unexpectedness, is part of what makes the Canterbury Tales so engaging.
Right. It's a tapestry of different voices and perspectives, all woven together by this shared journey. And that's something else that makes it so relevant to us today.
In a world that can feel so divided, where people are often quick to judge and dismiss those who are different from them, the Canterbury Tales reminds us of the power of shared experiences, of the importance of listening to different voices, of finding common ground even amidst our differences.
It's a reminder that we're all on this journey together, in a sense, and that we can learn from each other, even if we don't always agree.
And I think that's a message that's as relevant today as it was in Chaucer's time.
Oh, absolutely. And it's a message that's woven into the very fabric of the Canterbury Tales. It's not something that's explicitly stated, but it's there in the way the pilgrims interact, the way their stories intersect and respond to each other.
And it's there in Chaucer's own voice, this gentle but sharp wit, this ability to poke fun at human foibles without being cruel or judgmental.
Right. He's observing these characters, and by extension, human nature itself, with a mixture of amusement and compassion. And I think that's what makes his work so enduringly appealing.
It's like he's inviting us to laugh at ourselves, to recognize our own flaws, and to embrace the messy, complicated beauty of human experience.
And to remember that even in our differences, we're all connected. We're all pilgrims on this journey called life, and we have much to learn from each other along the way.
And speaking of learning, Chaucer was a keen observer of his time, and the Canterbury Tales offers us this incredible glimpse into the social and political landscape of 14th century England.
Oh, it's like a time capsule filled with all these fascinating details about daily life, social customs, religious beliefs, and even political tensions.
It was a time of great upheaval and change, wasn't it? The Black Death had ravaged Europe just a few decades earlier. There were peasant revolts, challenges to the authority of the church, and a lot of uncertainty about the future.
Exactly. And Chaucer captures all of that in his work. He doesn't shy away from the darker aspects of his time, the poverty, the corruption, the violence, but he also celebrates the resilience of the human spirit, the humor and joy that people found even in difficult circumstances.
And I think that's something else that makes the Canterbury Tales so relevant to us today. We live in a world that's constantly changing, facing challenges that can feel overwhelming at times. But Chaucer reminds us that people have always faced challenges, have always found ways to cope and to find meaning in their lives.
Exactly. And he does it in a way that's both entertaining and thought-provoking. He makes us laugh, he makes us think, and he leaves us with a sense of wonder at the complexity and beauty of the human experience.
And that's the magic of the Canterbury Tales. It's a work that can be enjoyed on so many different levels. You can read it for the stories, for the characters, for the historical insights, or simply for the sheer beauty of Chaucer's language.
And no matter how many times you read it, you're bound to discover something new, some new detail, some new layer of meaning that you hadn't noticed before.
It's a work that truly rewards rereading and reflection.
And it's a work that has something to offer everyone. Whether you're a student of literature, a history buff, or just someone who enjoys a good story, the Canterbury Tales is sure to captivate and delight you.
So what are some of the key things you think listeners should keep in mind as they delve into this amazing work?
Well, first of all, don't be intimidated by the Middle English. There are plenty of good translations and resources available to help you understand the language. And once you get past the initial hurdle, you'll be amazed at how accessible and engaging Chaucer's writing really is.
It's actually quite fun once you get the hang of it.
Right. And don't be afraid to just dive in and enjoy the stories. Let yourself be swept away by the humor, the drama, the romance. But also take some time to reflect on the deeper meanings, the themes that Chaucer is exploring.
Think about the characters, their motivations, their flaws, their strengths. What can they teach you about human nature?
Consider the social and historical context. What was life like in 14th century England? What challenges did people face? How did they cope? And how do those challenges and coping mechanisms resonate with your own experiences of the 21st century?
And most importantly, have fun. The Canterbury Tales is a treasure trove of stories, characters, and ideas. It's a work that can be enjoyed on so many different levels, and it's sure to spark your imagination and leave you with a newfound appreciation for the power of storytelling.
It's a reminder that even in a world that can feel increasingly fragmented and divided, there's still something profoundly unifying about the act of sharing stories, of listening to each other's voices, of recognizing our shared humanity.
And that's something worth celebrating.
Absolutely. So go forth and explore the world of the Canterbury Tales. You won't be disappointed.
And if you enjoyed this exploration, be sure to subscribe to our channel for more insightful deep dives into fascinating works of literature.
And don't forget to share this journey with others who might appreciate a good story and a little bit of mindful reflection.
And if you're feeling really inspired, why not pick up your own copy of the Canterbury Tales? We've provided a link in the description where you can find a variety of editions to suit your taste.
Happy reading!
And remember, as always, approach information with a critical and curious mind.
Until next time.
Happy reading!